let's talk about the potential candidates. Okay, here it is. This is from Donnie Puran, $20 super chat. Says this could be a move for a new coach with Giannis, hopefully. Mark Jackson, we need. Mike Malone could be next. He said, Meta World Peace. Ron Artest wants to coach. Is trending. All right, well, it definitely won't be him. So let's talk about some options here, right? In terms of the options, I've been seeing a lot of the Mike Malone stuff. I get it, but again, anything's possible. Nothing is impossible, right? Anything's possible. What KG said. All I can tell you is what I've heard for weeks now is that there's no interest in Mike Malone whatsoever. I don't even think he gets an interview.
Thank you.
So as I've been telling you guys, the Mike Malone stuff, highly, highly, highly unlikely.
Cut it out.
Hey, whenever there's moments of a coaching change, the Mark Jackson hive rears its head. I'm in a group text right now. We need Mark. Bring in Mark.
Let's get all the highly unlikelies out the way.
Highly, highly, highly unlikely. Mark Jackson, highly unlikely. One thing that I did hear is that, what you could expect, the players will be consulted on this in terms of who the next guy is. So the Jay Wright fans, hey, if Cap wants Wright, if McCall, if Hart, if Towns wants Wright, Jay Wright, maybe he gets an interview. But the players will have a role in who is the next coach of this team. Another thing I could tell you is that there are a lot of fans in the organization trying to get Johnny Bryant here. Will he get it? Because remember, he's a finalist for the Suns job.
Interesting timing.
He's a finalist.
Report.
Right. Interesting timing. He's a finalist for the Suns job. He was here under Tibbs' regime for 4 years as the associate head coach. Known for his player development, skill set, relationship with a lot of players. There are some of the organization that are pushing for Johnny Bryant. But we'll see. He is a finalist for the Suns job. Another name, while I don't know how hot he is as a candidate, Mike Brown. He's on the veteran side.
I didn't even have him written down. Let me write him down.
Yeah, so that is what I have right now. Johnny, there is a trying to push for Johnny.
Here comes Johnny. Mike
Malone, no. Mark Jackson, most likely no.
I don't get the Mike Malone.
Yeah, the Mike Malone thing. Look, I think
he's a 25-year-old younger Tibbs.
That's the view. That's the view within the
younger version of Tibbs.
That's the view from within the organization. Is that this is Tibbs 2.0 type of thing. Me personally, I'm intrigued with Chris Quinn. I haven't heard anything in regards to him. I'm intrigued. Somebody from the Spoelstra tree, JD. You gotta be interested in having at least a conversation, right?
Let me give you some names.
Yeah.
So okay, you threw Chris. Just tell me if you're intrigued, or not intrigued.
Okay.
Chris Quinn.
Yes.
Taylor Jenkins.
Yes.
Jeff Van Gundy.
I don't think they're bringing him in. I would love to. That's my favorite coach of all time. I would love to, but I don't think they're bringing him in.
Dan Hurley. There's already a report that if the Knicks came to him, he's not going to do the same thing he did to the Lakers.
He's interesting. We got to see what his philosophy is. And what's up with his emotions? Can he handle it here? He's getting real chippy with the fans, showing him the rings and whatnot at UConn. Like, he was getting a little emotional. Can he handle it here?
Going with the coaches first, then I'll go with the players.
Okay.
So are you intrigued or not? You seem like you're up and down on that.
Yeah, I would have to see with that. He's a hot candidate with the whole UConn winning the championships and whatnot.
We'll have to do a little bit more research, right? Get to know
some more research on that. See, at least with Quinn, before you go on, at least with Quinn, sometimes these coaching interviews is more of a process interview, a fact-finding, if you will, a recon. What are y'all doing over there in Miami? You know what I mean? What are you and Spoelstra over there talking about? What do you think? What do you see? So Spoelstra and Chris Quinn, look, when they went to the chip, I mean, how many of those role players really emerged, really developed? And they've since left and haven't done anything since. So I'd be interested in there. Go ahead.
Terry Stotts.
There was talk that he's an offensive-minded coach, isn't he? The offense.
Yep.
Yeah. I would talk to him.
Okay. You said Mike Brown. Jay Wright. I know you mentioned him, but are you intrigued by Jay Wright? Or do you think he's been out of coaching for a while? What do you think?
I mean, just because I've always been a Jay Wright fan, just from the local ties and the Nova stuff. Like I've always been a Jay Wright guy. If Cap wants him, let's see what his system is. What will he translate in the NBA? Billy Donovan has had mixed results with the Chicago Bulls. Not to say it can't be done. Rick Pitino had his day in the sun. Calipari as well. How will Jay Wright fare? Do they take a risk on a guy that hasn't had NBA any coaching experience at the NBA level? I don't know. Okay. With this team and their goals, is this the team for Jay Wright? That's a risk. That's a gamble.
John Calipari.
Nah.
Okay. Rick Pitino.
Nah. Let him go to St. John's. I'll leave him at St. John's. I like what he's doing at St. John's.
Okay.
Not really looking for retreads. I want a new mind.
Now let's go. The second gear. There's 3 gears. I'm gonna go to the players. The second gear is, I don't know the names, but let's go to teams that are successful. Would you go to whoever the top assistant is for the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah, you would have to take a look. Who's in their staff? We'd have to take a look.
I would have to take a look at that.
Yeah, OKC.
So I'm looking at organizations like, do you go to the OKC? Whoever's their top, lieutenant, you go there. You're looking at the Pacers. You're looking at. Do you think there would ever be a chance of Eric Spoelstra?
No, Riley will. No, Riley's taking that to the grave.
Yeah, he's taking that to the
Riley's taking that to the grave.
All right, so let's go with a few players.
Yeah.
He's under contract, but Jason Kidd.
Nah, I'm passing on Kidd.
Jerry Stackhouse.
Stackhouse was a big name for a while. He was a hot candidate for a while and cooled off tremendously. He's with Golden State. He's with Steve Kerr. I talked to Stackhouse.
Okay. You'll give him an interview?
I would definitely give Stackhouse an interview, yeah.
Pablo Prigioni, would you give him an interview?
I'd like to see what his thought process is. The point guards can typically serve as good head coaches. I'd like to see what Pablo's process is, thought process.
I'm very intrigued by this name. Mm-hmm. I have to interview him to see where he's at with
I know where you
the whole process.
Yeah.
Not yet. Rajon Rondo.
He's another guy. A lot of people. I don't think this is the right situation for him.
Swear by him.
Yeah.
The buzz he gets from players around is the same buzz like Jason Kidd got, in terms of give this kid, the way he sees the game, very cerebral. Even LeBron today, a lot of those players from that Laker championship team say, Rondo was the guy that got us there.
Yeah.
Would you give him an interview?
I don't think this is the right situation for him. We got to also see what his temperament is. Also, why? Yeah, that could be very combustible.
I could see him swing at a ref.
Right. That could be very combustible. Again, with our goals, we don't really have time for trial and error here. And also, why didn't JJ Redick pick him up for his staff? You know what I mean? There was talk about that. And LeBron loves him. He loves his mind. And all that.
I could see Rondo being one of those. Rondo has a very temperamental kind of. He's very he's an interesting guy. I could see Rondo just being like, if I'm not gonna be a head coach, why am I even gonna? I'll come to training camp and I don't know. He's very interesting. What about Rick Brunson?
Nah, too familiar. Nah.
Sam Cassell.
I want to see what his process is with the Celtics. I want to see what his process is. Another hot candidate name. I bring in Sam I Am, see what his process is. Looks like he can relate to the players. Very respectable player from his playing days all the way through his coaching days. I give Sam a talk. I'd have a conversation with Sam.
Would you give Kenny Smith another interview?
Nah. He's a hater. Leave him on TNT, man. His job is to push Shaq into the Christmas tree and run to the board. That's it.
It's still funny to me that he got an interview in the first.
Yeah, nah.
I should tell you where we was at back then when he got the interview.
No jet.
I mean, that's all I got other than the Vogels and the other veterans. So as I'm surfing this, bro, is Johnny Bryant really the top target?
He has the fans. He has the fans in the organization. I could tell you that.
He has momentum. I know they lost, but he has the injury excuse
Yeah.
with the Pacers.
He's getting calls. He's getting the calls every year. His name is in the
calls
running
now. He's coming off a 60-something win team. The whole,
familiarity with some of the personnel.
And when he was here, R.J. Barrett, I know Emmanuel quickly was a huge Johnny Bryant fan, and Julius Randle literally was saying, like, there was reports that Johnny Bryant is the only guy that can get to him, that can actually step to him, and Randle's not gonna go off on.
Yeah.
So it seems like Johnny Bryant has a lot of momentum building. I'm very interested to see and learn more about what type of coach he would be.
Yeah.
Like what's his philosophy? What's his system? Obviously, the organization has to have an insight on that, right?
They brought him in.
They brought him in, and listen, maybe the whole plan supposedly was this was supposed to be they were going to mold him. It was always interesting on why he was brought into the first place. A lot of people say because of Donovan Mitchell, but man, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Gonna be very interesting, man. Let us know in the chat, in the comment section, who is the guy that you want to be the next head coach of the New York Knickerbockers as the world turns, man. As the world turns. Never a dull moment in Knicks Nation. Salute, man. Salute for the fans, by the fans. If you guys want to make a Cash App donation, sign up for Cash App today because Cash App is offering an exclusive offer for KnicksFanTV viewers. If you sign up for Cash App today and use the code KnicksFanTV in your profile, if you send $5 to a friend, Cash App will get you $10 back. They will send you $10 back. Shout out to Cash App. We use it on a daily basis to make payments on behalf of KnicksFanTV and also to receive fan donations. It's super fast, super safe, and very, very easy to use. Once again, download the Cash App app. The link is in the video description, and TM will post it in the chat. Use our code KnicksFanTV in the profile section. This is for new users only, and if you send $5, you'll get $10 back. So hey, if you want to send KnicksFanTV some $5 donation, they will send you $10 back. So shout out to our friends at Cash App, and once again, the exclusive code is KnicksFanTV for a limited time only. New Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Here's Ian Begley. We're talking about some of the coaching candidate possibilities. Here's our guy Ian Begley on his show today on the Putback, talking about some of the coaching candidates as well. Here we go. Let me get to the other side here. Boom. Okay, here's our guy Ian Begley. Here we go. Wait, I think I got my Twitter on mute. Hang on. Who's everybody in the chat? Okay, here we go.
They're going to have to hire a new coach. What are you hearing in the early going on who that person might be?
I have not heard anything like solid enough to relay specific names. You can connect the dots though on Johnny Bryant, because Johnny Bryant was the associate head coach under Tom Thibodeau. He was hired by the Knicks, not by Thibodeau, but by the organization because they saw a lot in him, and they allowed him to go to Cleveland and sign with the Cavs in a similar role. He's there with Donovan Mitchell now. He's close with Donovan Mitchell. He is a finalist reportedly for that Phoenix Suns job. They haven't made a decision yet. So, I think that logic tells you that he at least would be under consideration. Jay Wright is a name that everybody's going to throw out there because of the Villanova connections. I could say today that I'd be surprised if that's the direction it went. Mike Malone, and just in talking to people, over the course of since he got fired, never heard that was like something that people were super excited about. Now, look, opinions change. I'm not going to claim that I was able to pull every member of the organization when talk about these coaches, but just the conversations that I had never struck me as a slam dunk hire. And Taylor Jenkins hadn't heard that either. And so, Danny Hurley, I guess it's possible. But everything to me, you're going to lean on the guys in your locker room. You're going to lean on Jalen Brunson. You're going to lean on Karl Towns, assuming that he's here and not part of a trade. You're going to lean on Anunoby, Bridges, those guys, and you want a guy that they're comfortable with, because if you're married to that core, you want the coach to be somebody who fits what they like to do. So I think that's one prism you view it through. And, sometimes in the league, surprising things happen. Coaches who you don't think are going to be available become available. So I would expect the Knicks to take their time here. But the Bryant thing is interesting because he is a finalist there in Phoenix.
All right. So that was our guy, Ian Begley. So, some of the things, common threads in terms of what we've reported here and what Ian was saying, the Johnny Bryant. Obviously, the organization bringing him in, it wasn't Tibbs that brought him in, as he said. This is a West and Leon Rose hiring. Something tells me he's the favorite, man. Something tells me he's the favorite. And the timing of it with the news that Phoenix is hot after him as a finalist, he ain't taking that. He ain't taking that job, bro. I'd be very surprised.
There's been so many times remember, didn't he get like a offer or some type of college? Utah, right?
Utah.
That was when he was here.
Yeah.
And it always felt like he would. I remember from because you saw Kenny Payne?
Yep.
When he went to Louisville, you see some, like, he didn't do it while he was here. And I thought at that point it was because they're molding this guy to one day take over. And he's gotten the plan and he's willing to wait a couple seasons. And then when he finally did it to go to Cleveland, I felt like, all right, then it is what it is. But it seems like those connections have remained strong. You got to think about this. For them to be this interested, at least that's what we think they are, even after he left the organization to take the same title on another team who had a more successful regular season year, was the number 1 seed, right? It goes to show to me how high they regard Johnny Bryant. Because, a lot of times when these things happen, organizations, like, even if you leave on good terms, sometimes they don't like to go the whole, well, you kind of like already passed us. I don't know about you coming back. But no, the Knicks are interested in Johnny Bryant. So, Begley says that, he thinks they could take their time, but it seems from what Begley is saying that could be dictated by what happens here in Phoenix. So I'm interested to see how that goes and then what happens after that in terms of with the Knicks.
Ain't no way he would take that job over this if they gave it to him. There's no way. We want to salute one of our sponsors of today's show, and that is LinkedIn Jobs. And as Cynthia said, hey, we got a great team at KFTV. Well, some of the people that we found that powers the machine have been found on LinkedIn Jobs. And the reason is because LinkedIn Jobs is not just a search engine for jobs, but it's also a social network. So what I can do is I can use the hiring hashtag and the image over my profile picture, and that lets my network know that I'm looking for the latest and greatest bright talents. And then also when you post your job and your job description, your network can share that. So then LinkedIn will, between the search engine and your network, you'll be able to find some of the best candidates, qualified candidates that can help your company move the ball forward. So if you're a small to medium-sized business owner, go to linkedin.com/KFTV to post your job for free. That's right, man. LinkedIn.com/KFTV to post your job for absolutely free. Terms and conditions apply, but we definitely appreciate our friends at LinkedIn for sponsoring today's show.